Oh, today on the show we have Michael Fakukakis. Michael is a co-founder and a leader at the company Mechatron Trackers. Mechatron produces a patented technology. It is a certain kind of tracker, as you can tell by the name, that maximizes the amount of energy that a solar panel can produce by being very accurate, not only resilient to weather conditions like wind or clouds, but also depending on the angle of the sun at a particular day, it will maximize the amount of coverage and electricity production. Michael has an incredible personal relationship to entrepreneurship, to growing businesses. He's done a few, and the mentality. We speak a lot about the technology and market conditions and energy, but also about the mentality of entrepreneurship, which I love. So it was a wonderful conversation. I know it'll be valuable, educational for you. Thank you, as always, to our sponsors, Craze and Friends, the producers of this podcast, and Clean Tech Growth Lab. If you're looking to grow in clean tech, they're the people to do it with. And with that, I give you Michael.
Hi.
Oh, welcome to another episode of The Grove. Shout out to our sponsors, mentioned just before this. And it is always a special day, special opportunity when I get to highlight an inspiring person from my personal network, just like Michael. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and great to be here.
Man, you are you are a legend in the solar space. And for anyone
Well,
that doesn't know yet,
I wouldn't go that far, but I know my shit. I've done enough so I can claim my place in fame.
yeah, we'll let other people decide by the end of the episode. But I've made my decision. So for anyone that doesn't know yet, if you could give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're building.
So yeah, name is Michael. Last name Fakukakis. Born and raised in Greece. Uh, got my first degree in physics from a school in Greece, University of Patra. Then I came to the U.S. in 1989, 1990 to get my master's in engineering. I specialized in telecommunications and data algorithms. I was part of the very original group of people who built the internet.
Hmm.
I was the first one who built complex data algorithms for large customers like B of A and State of California and Applied Materials. I mean, I had so many glorious jobs and contracts working as a specialist in data networking. Anyway, so I did a number of years in the US working in telecommunications and data networking. Then I moved back to Greece in 1998.
Got it.
That was a year after my son was born. That's how I remember it. And we spent with the family another 13, 14 years building companies in Greece. Originally, two telecom companies, which I built and I sold. And then in 2011, I believe I got switched away from telecom and I got myself involved with renewables, solar. I became early on a local distributor of Solindra. Some people still remember the name. It was like one of the first innovations in solar business using cylindrical shaped tubes absorbing the light from top and the bottom. It was a very innovative solution and idea, but it didn't work. It didn't work financially. It was very expensive to manufacture. So the company went belly up. It went bankrupt. So we kind of lost a great opportunity to do business in Europe. And at the same time, I was involved with Mechatron. Mechatron was built by a group of individuals, myself included, back in 2007, 2008 was the first year that the company came out there to build the first innovative gearless trackers. And it did work well over the last, from 2007, 8 until 2013, the company was doing great. And then the government changed and the policies changed and the European policy changed overall. So we kind of lost all of our business. So we decided to move the company to the US. So since January of 2014, the company moved to the US
Mm,
in California. And since then, it's a one-way highway for us, trying to go fast and try to go higher to get business running. So from 2014 until today, the company has already closed 12 years of operation.
incredible.
And I mean, and we can talk about this, we can give you more details on how the company has evolved, but the transition from Europe to the US was a challenge.
Yeah. So 12 years running any business is awesome. So we do have to talk about that. Before we get into Mechatron, though, something personally, it's across your life, it seems like you've always been engaged in entrepreneurship. Did you always think you were going to start companies, build them, or did something happen at some point where you said, I want to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I think that's how I was built from my father since I was 10. Well, see, my father, he's not with us any longer, but the way he lived his life, a poor farmer with no education, being a lone wolf in his life, working hard to make a living for the family, and then trying to grow his business. He was a farmer, and then eventually he became a photographer, professional photographer. And through that avenue, he managed to make money. He managed to build homes. He managed to build property. And he was always financially independent. He was never an employee. He was never an employee of any employer, ever. So that got into me. I mean, I learned to be that way subconsciously from my father's experience, from my father's example. So when I grew up and I became, even from the age of 14, 15, when I was working for other people to make a buck, summer vacation, working, in the fields or in the tourism business, I knew in my mind that I would never be an employee. I did that when I was younger to make some money, to go to the next level. But when I became independent, after I finished school and I finished my graduate studies in Santa Clara in California, I knew that I could never be an employee. So I worked for a year to get my visa, my H-1B, and then my green card. As soon as I got that done, I quit.
Said I'm out.
And then I started consulting for a few years, and then I built my own companies.
Right, right.
So since 1993,
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur. I never worked for anybody else since then. I've never seen a W-2 since then.
Well, you've seen them. You've just been sending them out, instead of receiving
As a
them.
payer, no, yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right. So, so you made your way into renewables at some point, which is why we're here. But why was it that you started in telecommunications? What drew you to that industry?
That was the passion I had when I was in college, when I was in my first undergraduate degree in physics. Physics is a fascinating science. I don't know if you ever took any physics classes in college or in high school. Physics is fascinating. I mean, the things you learn, how much your brain opens up, how much you understand of the surroundings, the environment, chemically and electrically, how things can be explained. It is a phenomenon science. So through physics, I was exposed to electronics, and especially digital electronics. Back then, back in the 80s, there was not much of telecom. It was very basic technologies. But back then, there was some technology called flip-flops that were used to transition bits and flips and bits and pieces between points of reference. And I was fascinated by flip-flops. And I spent almost 6 months, and I built my own first personal PC with a display and a keyboard and a code. I wrote Fortran, for Pascal and Fortran languages to interface between the display to the machine, to the machine of the CPU. So it was fascinating, the things I was able to do back in the age of 19, 20.
Mm,
So that's when I decided that I want to be a telecom expert.
got it.
So I switched all my studies on the fourth year to digital electronics and microprocessors. And I graduated with a specialty in telecom. And then I applied to several schools in Silicon Valley. I didn't even apply to other states. I think I applied only to California schools, and in particular, Bay Area schools, because they had the expertise. Silicon Valley was there, so
Right,
I
right.
wanted to be right. I want to go right to the core, right where things were happening. So I came here. I was accepted by Santa Clara University, a private Jesuit school,
Mm.
and with a scholarship, and the rest is history.
So then after that, you went in the direction, you built some of those companies, you brought technology back to Greece, you built companies there. Um, from the experiences that you had building those companies, is there, I mean, there's a ton that we could talk about, but let's pick maybe two things, two of maybe the most influential lessons that you took from growing and selling those companies that impact how you decided to grow Mechatron.
Well, there was a very negative influence that I had experienced with my investor who invested
Mm,
money in my second telecom company in Greece.
mm,
Basically, it was a very bad relationship.
sure.
The the agreement and the contractual agreement and the business agreement between me, the company founder,
Hmm.
and the investor were never met, were never honored. So they lied to me, they gave me false hopes.
Sure, sure.
At the end of the day, they pushed me out.
Okay.
I built the company in record time,
Yeah.
and because they didn't want me to be or take the company to the level I wanted to take it, they pushed me out. They get somebody else. The company went bankrupt. They lost the money. They lost me. So it was a bad. It was really a bad experience that made me think that if I can do things on my own, I'll do things without investors.
Mm,
I don't trust. Basically, this is the bottom line. I don't trust easily investors
hmm.
because I know how they are. Most of them, not all of them. It's a matter of luck to find the right person who understands what you can do
Right,
and
right.
to respect and honor the agreement. People in power, they exploit people.
Yeah.
And I'm 60 years old. I've seen that way too many times. I allowed that to happen to me once and
Right.
never again.
Wow. Okay.
But
So
I've
that's
seen other people, friends of mine, other people in the industry that they've been exploited and
sure.
they've been pushed to the cliff.
So that's one thing that impacted when you started Mechatron. You said, I'm doing this on my own.
No, that was before. That was an experience I absorbed when I was in Greece
Right. But
doing
once
my
you
first
got to
my
Mechatron,
second
you said,
telecom.
yeah, you
So
said,
when I
no
got
more.
into Mechatron, I worked with my partners.
Got it.
We did a partnership based on equal
Right, right.
contribution. And nobody's the god. Nobody is the mammoth who's going to control
Yeah.
how things will be. I work in equilibrium with my partners.
Right, right.
We decide jointly. There is always one guy who makes the final decision, but it's based on collaboration, based on agreement, based on amicable agreements. So that's how I like to work. And if I ever use investors in my business, it has to be a very, very thorough investigation on my side
Right,
to
right.
understand who this person is and what is the motive of
Was there
investing money.
was there a second thing that comes to mind as far as something that significantly influences how you went about that?
Uh, well, when it comes to Mechatron, there was so many experiences that we acquired through the years. The very first one that kind of put a stigma on the Mechatron's growth was how difficult it is to fight establishment.
Hmm.
And we'll go through that in a minute in detail. But
Right.
basically, when you try to introduce a new technology into an establishment that makes money or accommodates existing companies with lesser of a technology, but with huge pockets, they fight dirty. They they spread words, they spread rumors, they backstab technologies that are better than theirs just because they know that if they allow this to proliferate, they'll lose.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll lose a lot of money. So big establishments fight dirty. So either you're with them or without them. Or you choose to move your battles elsewhere,
Yeah.
far away.
So we're gonna get into how you've navigated that. And right before we do, what we talked about Megatron so much by now. What is the core technology? What is it that the company is?
So the company has we have designed back in 2008, and we have since then we had different iterations and designs of the technology, but basically it is the same concept based on a gearless mechanism
Yeah.
that allows a very short, a very small set of brakes to manage and to move a humongous platform. I'm talking about 1,800 square feet. The platform that we move on a daily basis, left and right, up and down, is 1,800 square feet. It's like equal to the size of the Boeing 747 wings,
Yeah.
if you can understand the size of that machine, right? And we're using a 3-foot diameter brake system to move it and control it and fight winds and find uplifting forces and whatever. I mean, it's a very difficult situation when you have to fight not just the weight of the system, but also the winds that can be very prevailing in some areas. So the design is based on a gearless system. It uses hydraulic pressure to control 2 bands with a passive brake. I don't want to bore people because it's very complicated, but basically it's all based on a gearless double brake band system.
And
So
the point is to make the solar panel more resilient or to maximize the amount of
yeah,
sun that it can
a
get.
dual axis tracker by geometry and by physics creates probably 40% more power compared to a stationary ground mount or rooftop solar system. So if you take a panel and you place it on a roof or on the ground fixed, it produces X amount of kilowatt hours per year. If you put that very same panel on a moving platform that follows the sun and places the panel vertically to the sun beams, from the sunrise to the sunset, it can produce on an annual basis 40% more. And with the new bifacial gain modules, it can go 60% more.
See. So
That is huge.
has this
Financially, that is huge.
yes has this product how has the product evolved over the 12 years since you started?
Well, the product is the same. We haven't made serious changes in the
Really
brake system because
incredible.
that's a pretty fixed, patent protected hydraulic system. But we have improved the guidance system, the tracking system, the software has changed a number of times.
Okay.
But those are like supplementary components. The main component, which is the gearless system, with the hydraulic pressure and a passive brake, they are the same for the last 18 years
Got it.
because it's
Okay.
very stable. It is very stable. It is rock solid.
Right.
No reason to make it change if something works so well. Don't change it. We improved it by putting new components and changing suppliers. So we have more reliable hydraulic cylinders and more reliable hydraulic hoses and more reliable band systems, things that can be improved at the component level. We've done it, but the design itself is the same.
Got it. But what you did do then, if you didn't change too much the core technology, what you did do is you found an application for it and you grew into that population. So when you were at the very beginning and you said and you said I want to do this company, this is where I'm going. Did you use an existing network that you had to find your first customers or find your first pilots? What was the experience at the very beginning of Mechatron getting the first customer?
That was a tough game. There was a tough game starting this business with nobody, with zero network. We had zero network. Okay, it's like we started from the scratch.
Got it.
So I mean, I tried to unravel my personal connections in California. We got to connect with people in the industry, some Greeks, some Greek Americans, some Americans I used to know from my first lifespan in California. It took 2 years to land the first customer in an area called Marysville, north of Sacramento. He was the first customer. He was a farmer who understood hydraulics. When he saw, we built a demo machine in the U.S. in a facility that is under the UC Davis lab and demo areas. So we gave them a machine, we installed it, and they assessed it, and they gave us a bankability report. So we used that site to bring customers to demonstrate the system. So those demonstrations landed the first customer. It was like a farmer up in Marysville. They gave us the first million. We get the job done. We became well known in the area, and from that moment we start, rolling over new customers and new areas and new partnerships.
So you say that again. 2 years it took.
It took exactly 2.5 years to be precise.
2.5 years. So
the company started in January of 2014. We landed the first contract in June of 2016.
So what kept you going in that 2.5 years?
Well, it's a personal issue to me to be successful, so I never give up.
Yeah.
I never give up. If I believe that I can be successful, and if I know that what I have is a solution to many problems, and I know that all I need to do is educate the market, that's what I did. I went to shows and conferences and symposiums, and I met with people left and right. And all I did was I was promoting the technology, and I was talking about the system. Initially, I faced skepticism, negative approach, negative feelings. Everybody was pushing back on the dual axis tracker. It was not what they would consider as a safe technology back then, because so many other companies failed to do a reliable system. So I was fighting against the market that was facing failing dual axis tracker systems. So I was the only one who was claiming at the point that I am reliable. And I have this difference in technology that makes me reliable. Nobody would believe. I mean, 2 years I would get fists and fingers and negative feelings and pushback. And it was distressing, honest to God. But, when you have issues, all you need to do is keep fighting until you get to the finish line.
Well, so something that means a lot to me about this podcast is getting to talk to people like you and really understand how people are able to get through periods like that, to get through challenges in their company, to grow companies, things like that. It is really awesome to hear that the main thing, or one of the main things at least, is just this determination, this belief in yourself. It's going to work out. This commitment to the idea. Is there any because I don't believe. Well, I know for a fact that it's a common challenge when you're trying to bring an innovative technology to a certain space to get a lot of reactions the way that you're speaking to, even if it is the better choice for that customer base. So is there anything else that you would say, like, say you're speaking to several people that have an innovative technology and they're trying to bring it to market and they're facing those same experiences. Is there anything else that you would say helped you get through that period?
Well, determination is required.
Mm-hmm.
Belief in your product is required. Support from your family is required. I mean, you need to have personal support, otherwise things don't go as well. So it's a combination of many things, but I think the driving factor is self-determination. Okay. If you believe in it, if you have it in you, because none everybody is made of material to be entrepreneur.
Hmm.
It takes certain type of people and personalities and egos and self-determination. So you have to have those soft characteristics to make it work. Many people try and most of them fail. So
Hmm.
you have to have that deep faith in yourself, in what you do, so you can transpire that across to the audience.
Getting fired up. Okay, let's go. Let's do
All right.
it.
All
It's
right.
great. So after you got this first customer, so I do have it written down here that you applied and received a patent. So I'm curious about your experience with that. But right before we get there, after this first customer, how did you use that case study and then go into different segments? And is the customer that you go after today still the same kind of customer? Are they farmers, or has that evolved over time?
Well, yeah. So that type of documentation we acquired from the UC Davis helped us to go through existing EPC companies. So basically, we pushed that type of a or technical document to neighboring companies in Sacramento, in San Jose, down the valley, Fresno, just to show them a proof that the technology works. And we did see some reaction, positive reaction, which gave us some more new avenues to sell the product to different customers. From that day until today, we have retained the same customer base: farmers, dairy farmers, commercial building owners, parking lot owners. So basically, we have expanded to every possible domain that this tracker can be usable. The good news is that the technology is so adverse and so flexible that it can be applied everywhere. I mean, right now we have applied the system in utility scale projects, in parking lots, in farms, in commercial buildings, in community solar projects. We have installed it in rolling hills, in flooding zones. The machine is so flexible because it uses a single pillar
Hmm.
to place on top of it. So by having a single concrete pillar that can be as tall as 14 feet, you eliminate all the environmental restrictions that other technologies have to face.
Is it also being so applicable across so many different customer segments? Can it also be a challenge for trying to focus resources on growing in a particular segment, or have you found that it is an advantage?
Well, yeah, the most difficult domain that we cannot penetrate easily is the large utility scale domain. And this is the hardest domain to penetrate because we face a very strong opposition from big developers who have used traditionally the single axis trackers, which are a lot less productive, they're a lot cheaper, of course, but they produce 20% less energy. And with the bifacial gain, they produce between 35 to 40% less compared to our tracker. Problem is that those companies are very large, very powerful. Two of them actually are in the stock market, so they have the means to promote their technology to big projects. So big developers and big utilities like PG&E in California or Duke or all those big players around the country, they they prefer to do business with established, well-known, rich balance sheet companies.
Hmm.
We're not. We're small compared to them, and we don't present a reliable source of technology that can take them to the next 20 years. So that makes us an unwanted, undesirable technology, although
Interesting.
we are better,
Uh-huh.
but we're small. So right now we're facing about the threshold whether we can grow with a large developer who can take us to the next level, so we can start selling megawatts and megawatts, or continue growing into the utility, into the commercial private sector, which is a lot less compared to the utility scale projects, but at the same time it presents to us a steady growth that does not require investments and private investors and the things that I don't like to do as much.
Yeah, right. Wow, fascinating. Um, so when, well, first of all, is this technology specific to solar panels, or do you attach it to anything else?
Yeah, well,
Before I
it
ask
can
it,
be used. It can be used in other applications
but
like
yours is
satellite,
mainly solar
like
panels.
satellite tracking.
Okay.
Yeah, because the granularity of the movement is very small.
Okay.
We can move a platform with 1 degree accuracy.
Okay.
So it could potentially be redesigned to be used in other applications.
Okay.
But as things stand, we are 100% dedicated to the solar
Okay.
business.
Okay. So, with that in mind, what has your experience been with the development of the solar industry, the solar market as a whole? Because there's been so much, there's all this attention on electricity production and the grid and all this stuff because of data centers and everything that comes with bringing those online and rising energy costs for end consumers like regular everyday people. And so I've seen a lot of content about not only battery storage being extremely cheap, but solar and wind finally being at a place where the technology is, it makes sense and it's a lot cheaper than something like oil or fossil fuels. It's just the large scale infrastructure, continues to be built out. So, what has your experience been selling this technology, specifically in solar, with how the market has developed over time? Because it
Yeah,
seems everyone's a lot more receptive to solar in general.
yeah. Well, so here's the deal. Here's the point of differentiation between solar and the rest of the renewables. And before we do that, let me step back a little bit.
Do it.
The For the last 25 to 30 years, the renewables have been facing partially skepticism from one spectrum of the political spectrum and immense help from another spectrum. The truth is that when solar became a viable solution back in 1990s, it was very expensive. It was very expensive. The manufacturing of everything was very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The modules, the inverters, the trackers, everything was very expensive. I mean, I remember we used to sell €6 per watt and €7 per watt. That's like, compared to today's $1 per watt, that was a huge expense.
Mm-hmm.
That's why utilities and governments in Europe and in the US, Europe first and then US followed up with 10 years lag, they subsidized it. I mean, there were subsidies up the gazoo, subsidizing solar and wind. Those subsidies over time, they faded away because the cost of production of the raw materials dropped significantly. So nowadays, you can sell a solar system of a large scale solar system between $1 to $1.50 per watt,
Sure.
right? At the same time, though, the revenue dropped. So right now, PG&E in California and Duke on the East Coast, they are procuring large-scale projects offering 6.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
Mm.
That is like really low.
Yeah.
And that rate of selling power to the grid is very comparable, I would say at parity, with fossil fuel plants, nuclear plants, gas turbine plants, coal plants. Every traditional way of producing power using fossil fuels and traditional means, it has been eliminated, has been reached at parity with the renewables,
Sure.
right? So nowadays, it's not a matter of helping the renewables because they have already reached a very comfortable level of low cost of producing electricity to be competitive with the traditional sources. And I give you an example. Our numbers show that if you use our trackers, because we are 40, 50, 60% more efficient compared to the ground mounts, our cost structure shows that every kilowatt hour that we produce costs 3 cents. 3 to 3.2 cents, depends on where you are exactly. And that cost includes the initial capex, insurance coverage, the maintenance of the system for 20 years, and the upgrades needed for 20 years. So if you take for the next 20 years all costs involved to make this work and produce power, it gives you a 3.23 to 3.2 cents per kilowatt hour.
Crazy.
So any developer who has that cost and has a contract with a utility at 6 cents, you're talking about huge profits. The profit margin is huge, right?
Was there a point where that became true for you guys? Like that this whole like the solar market became mature enough for those economics to make sense?
When did this happen?
Yeah.
Well, it's a gradual progress. It didn't happen
Right.
overnight. You're
Right,
talking
right.
about the last 10 years,
10 years.
8 years, we've seen a dramatic drop
Okay.
in the cost of systems, partially because the Chinese managed to produce low-cost solar modules. And once again, I don't want to be political here, but in reality, the US cannot produce low-cost solar modules. End of the story. So I don't know why the administration fights that. There's no way that you can make competitive solar modules with the same cost that the Chinese do. So if I'm going to assume that the Chinese will prevail, and they have prevailing so far,
Right.
and using cheap Chinese, reliable European or American inverters and trackers, you have a mix of a very low cost between $1 to $1.50 per watt, producing a very low cost of electricity. So right now you have these huge AI data centers that are coming up. I mean, you have those mushrooms coming up in different states around the
Right,
country.
right.
And in Europe and in China, everywhere, everybody talks about AI. The AI requirement in the next 3-4 years will be several gigawatts.
Right. Right.
Several gigawatts. I mean, they're talking about 1 gigawatt for each AI factory. It might be less. I don't think it's going to be 1 gigawatt. But even if you have 500 megawatt systems that they need to be put to operation in the next 2 to 3 years in multiple AI locations, whether it's going to be in the US, in Middle East, or China, or Europe, you need power. Tremendous amounts of power. Now, the US administration tries to use nuclear as the quick solution to the problem. I don't think it's going to be that way. Nuclear has its own issues, mostly permitting, public opposition.
Sure.
There are factors that they will make nuclear a less effective or a much slower progress energy source. So solar cannot be the solution of its own because you need lots of land. You need a really large amount of land to build solar. But I think a combination of solar with wind can fit that gap of the energy deficit. So I still believe that having low cost of energy production, the solar can be a major player in the AI evolution.
So now we have this whole we've structured the environment that Mechatron sits inside of, that Michael sits in, and you're looking at it, and we're looking at the future. What we've talked about what the challenges that you face, that Mechatron faces as far as certain customer segments, the size, the novelty of the technology, let's say, and then also push back around just solar in general, compared to nuclear, like you're saying, or fossil fuels, just as a base argument. So if it's one of those things, then that's fine. But one of my last questions for you is, what is the biggest hurdle that you have right now as it pertains to growth of the company, and how is it also an opportunity?
Well, as I said before, market opposition is a major issue. We still have ways to go to make the market aware and accept that our technology is reliable. Because to this date, so many years after being in the business and deploying so many projects, we are still perceived by a major portion of the market as unreliable, but because we are dual access tracker. So that perception needs to be changed by education, by edification, by market spreading the information to the market, participating in seminars and conferences and shows and exhibitions. This is what we face, and we do this as much as we can. The problem is that to do that, you need money, you need investment. So we're we're in a pickle right now. What's going to come first, the investment or the growth? So this is
Sure.
like a pickle that we're fighting every day. So market awareness is the big issue. Number two, the internal growth. Because for us to be able to get to the point to manufacture thousands of trackers a year, we need an expansion.
Sure.
Our facility in Stockton can produce roughly 3,000 trackers a year,
Sure.
which is a very small amount compared to the market today needs. If I was going to provide trackers for everybody in the market today, I would need probably 500,000 trackers, right? So making only 3,000 trackers a year, which is like 120 megawatts, if I translate the number of trackers to megawatts, if I have 120 megawatts capacity today, for me to be able to go after big players, I need to have either a second or a third facility or grow the existing one to larger numbers. So that's another capital expenditure that we need to deal with, and we're trying to work out solutions with investors. But yeah, those are the challenges: how to grow and how to overcome market perception.
I don't know. This does sound, I mean, they're definitely real. They're definitely challenges, but they
Yeah,
sound like good problems to have. I mean, they're problems that companies have when there's an opportunity there and
yeah,
you're running towards it.
yeah.
So that's good. So that's good to hear, I guess. So my last thing for you is, with all this work to be done, with the challenges, with everything that you've put into this, what inspires you to keep working on it?
Well, I still have the fire in me about this baby because I still see this as my baby. Growing together with the company for the last, gosh, 16, 17 years, I still see the potential. I have not reached my goal. I have certain numbers and certain growth for the company in my head, and I'm not there yet. I haven't reached the level of success that I believe this company deserves.
Hmm.
So I keep pushing myself and my team and my people, and I'm trying to get better people next to me so we can get at much higher level soon. But I know that to this point, the company has not reached the level of success that it deserves. And that alone is the driving factor in my heart, in my soul, to keep pushing to get this company where it deserves to be.
Yes, and you'll get it there. Let's go. Pamiligo.
Keep
If anyone,
pushing,
that's right,
keep
keep
pushing.
pushing it. If anyone else was inspired to follow along or get in touch, what's the best way to do that?
Well, they can email to us. They can go to our website, mechatron-trackers.com. That's our website, mechatron-trackers.com. That's our website. They can reach out to us. We have online forums and email access, so they can email to us what they want to find out. Um, can I give well, I won't give my phone over the phone, but yeah, they can reach out to us using online forms on the
Good,
website, and then we can reach out. This is how typically people reach out to us using the
good.
online
Website,
forms on the website.
submission, do it. Michael,
All right.
Haristo para poli.
My pleasure. It was nice
It
talking to
was
you.
awesome. Thank you so much. I'm
You're
excited
the
for the
man.
next one.
Thanks.